Hello everyone, I'm back to share some ideas as to how we can use the masterboards that we created last Sunday. These are the masterboards that I created, vintage collage style. I'll leave the link to the video where I shared how I made these in the description box below. I'm collaborating with Kylie Koo this year. We're co-hosting the Facebook group, which we've renamed from Nina.Ribena's Art Journal Prompts and More to the Mixed Media Emporium. If you would like to join in with our prompts, I'll leave the link to the Facebook group in the description box below. There are 3 entry questions which you will need to complete, otherwise your request will just be automatically declined. So please be aware of that. If you've tried to join the group already and your request hasn't been accepted, then it may be because you haven't answered the questions. Now, I said last week that I would be taking these off to my local printers, and I've done just that. So let me just show you what I've come back with. These are just 2 photocopies of those masterboards, just done on regular 100 GSM photocopier paper. I think this is photo paper. It's got sort of like a satin finish. These have turned out absolutely beautifully. So those are those. I've also had a few blown up onto A3 size as well. These are UK A4 size, letter size. And as I say, I've had these blown up onto A3 size as well. Let me just see if I can lift my camera up to fit the whole of these on. That's a little bit better. So again, this is just the 100 GSM paper. I've also had each of them printed out onto a heavier weight paper. This is 200 GSM. And I also took along some sheets of my own mixed media paper. Most printers are more than happy to do this for you. You can see that I've taken them out of the spiral binding rather than tear it out, just so that it's easier to get through their printers. But these have just printed out absolutely beautifully, and you can see that it's more of a muted effect than the satin paper that they do provide. So those are just absolutely lovely to work with. Many of you that have followed me for a while have seen me do this before. And of course, I've had the other ones, the other design of the masterboard done in exactly the same formats. Now, I also said that I was going to attempt to have the masterboards printed out onto rice paper. And this is it. So let me just go and grab my rice paper so that I can share with you how I did it. So this is the rice paper that I used to print on. This is what it looks like. I got this, I'm pretty sure, from Amazon. I've had this in my stash for quite a while. I bought it originally to use for jelly printing, and I've only ever used a few sheets. It's relatively inexpensive. I think this is about £6 for about 60 sheets. It's also known as Chinese calligraphy paper. So let me just take a sheet out of the pack just so that you can see what it looks like. I've torn it. It's got stuck on the sticky at the top, but it's really translucent and thin. These pages here measure 15.5 by 10.5 inches, or 39 by 26.5 centimeters. So not quite A3 size, but larger than A4. And you can see here that all I've done before I took it to my printers is I've taped it using some washi tape to an A3 sheet of my mixed media paper. So I just popped it on like this, and you can see that I've just used some washi tape, which will hopefully peel off really easily. We'll have a look at that in a second. But it just allowed the printers to pop it through their printing machine without it clogging up. So I popped one piece of the rice paper on each side of my A3 piece of mixed media paper. So I'm just going to try and peel this off. So they've just run it through, and they've just, as you can see, just printed over the whole of the sheet. Now, of course, washi tape is relatively low tack, so it should peel off nice and easily, and you can see it is. So I'm just going to try and take this apart without tearing it, and you can see, just look how beautifully that has printed out. And I just think this will just be absolutely wonderful for using for decoupage. So I've peeled the deli paper away, and let me just put a piece of book paper underneath here just so that you can see how beautifully translucent it is. I mean, you can just see that lovely book paper underneath, and by the time you've added matte medium or, you know, some kind of glue, Mod Podge or what have you, it would become even more translucent. I love that. Now let me just show you how this compares to a commercial piece of rice paper. It's not exactly the same. This is a Stamperia piece of rice paper, and you can see here that if I turn it over, you can see all the fibres of this one on the back, whereas mine you can't. It's much plainer, so very different when you turn them over. But you know, if you look at them on the front, you know, there isn't a great deal of difference, and this is just a brilliant way, I think, of using your own designs for decoupage. So that's how they compare. So I'll be using the rice paper for an up-and-coming project, maybe even next weekend, but I'm just going to make a start on some of the other papers first. Now I've decided I'm going to start off with this piece of mixed media paper here. I want to start off by making a couple of artist trading cards. Now of course artist trading cards are 2.5 by 3.5 inches, which is absolutely perfect. I can use this section here widthwise, and then maybe go down to about 7 inches here. So I shall cut at the bottom of this part here, and as soon as I've done that I'll be back. So I've cut two of the pieces up into artist trading card size, and I am just going to tape them together on the back. You'll see why I'm doing this in a second. So I'm just using some Scotch tape because it will peel off really easily. And then I've got one of these stickers that I used in the original background. This is from In Love Arts, and I just thought that that would go really nicely across the centre of both of these. It's got the post mark on it, and I just think the style of this sticker goes really well. So I'm going to go off screen now and try and peel this apart. You've just got to get your nail in these. These are ultra sticky, but a bit of a pain, I must admit, to peel apart. So there we go, you can see I've done it. Let me be careful with these because they're so sticky. They have a tendency to peel up on themselves, curl up on themselves. And I'm just going to stick that in the middle of both of these. There we go. I've got a bit of overhang on that one there, so I can just quickly trim that off. There we go. And then I can peel this Scotch tape off and just run my scissors down the centre to cut them apart again. Let me just quickly do this. There we go. And now I've got half of the sticker on either side of the artist trading card. Love how that looks. So we just need some kind of focal image to go on these now, and I've chosen two butterfly stickers. Again, these are semi-transparent vellum stickers, and I just need to go off camera now and fiddle around. Oh, there we go. That wasn't too bad. I think I am going to have that one there, about there. How do I want that to go? There, I think. Don't overthink it. It doesn't really matter. And let's see if I can get this one apart. You've just got to get your nail into these and peel them apart at one of the corners. There we go. And we can have that one there like that. Really like those. Now I've got some Memento ink. This is in Espresso Truffle. Let me just grab a sponge. So I just want to ink around the edges of these. Now, although this is printed on mixed media paper, you can see that although it's, you know, got a fair rigidness about it, it needs stabilising even more, in my opinion. I don't like artist trading cards that are too flimsy, so I will eventually mount these onto another piece of heavier cardstock, but I want to do something else to these. So before I start the next step, I just want to apply some clear gesso over these artist trading cards. So I've got some clear gesso here. You could use matte medium or Mod Podge even. You'll see why I'm doing this in a second. So I just want a thin layer of that over both of these. I've chosen clear gesso because it dries really quickly. And this will just hopefully give me something for the next layer to stick to. So I'm back a couple of hours later. I glued a couple of pieces of craft cardstock onto the back of each of these artist trading cards. So it was just a piece of scratch craft cardstock. This is either 250 or 300 GSM, and it's got two pieces layered on top of one another so that now these are really stiff and resemble chipboard. I've glued the pieces on with both a regular Scotch glue stick and also Fabri-Tac as well to make sure that they're glued down nice and firmly, and then I've weighted them under a heavy book just to make sure that they're nice and flat, ready for the next stage. Now I want to apply some ultra thick embossing powder, and it's really important when you're using embossing powder that your surface is, you know, rigid enough and flat enough so that the embossing powder doesn't crack. I'm using ultra thick, but you could equally use just normal clear embossing powder, and I'm hoping that by using clear embossing powder it would just show all those beautiful layers that I've got going on underneath. So I am going to use a piece of scratch paper here. I've got my clear embossing stamp pad. Let's do one at a time. Let's do this one first, and I'm just going to make sure that I apply plenty of the embossing ink. So we'll make sure we've got plenty on there. I'm going to go over that 3 or 4 times, bring back the other one and do the same. I should have done them one at a time so that you could have seen the difference, but there we go. I just can't wait to see what this looks like. So that's that done. And then I'm going to transfer this to a fresh piece of cardstock. Save that one because I want to add another layer of the embossing powder. I'm going to give this a shake to break up any clumps that might be there, and just pour a layer over each of the trading cards. There we go. So that's that done. I've got a pair of tweezers here somewhere. What on earth have I done with them? I was prepared. Here we go. Isn't it funny how things just seem to vanish from your desk? So I'm just going to tip off the excess. Here we go. Just pop some more on where I've just used the tweezers. I'll do the same with this one here. Tip off the excess, and then I'm just going to pour this back into the tub. And then I'm just going to heat set this with my heat tool. I'm going to put it on low to start off with, just to avoid all of the embossing powder blowing off. And then once that's started to melt slightly, I shall put it onto a higher heat. And I'll put this onto silent just to save your ears. So this is how the artist trading cards look like after one layer of UT. And you can see that it's really pitted and bumpy, and that's quite normal. I'm going to repeat the process with the clear embossing pad, applying more UT 2 more times, and then I'll be left with a really beautiful glass-like finish. So here are my finished artist trading cards. I flattened them out by just putting a heavy book down on these just to flatten them out slightly. I'll probably do it overnight as well once I'm finished. But you can see that for some reason, and I have absolutely no idea why, I've still got some of the pitting showing from the UT, whether it's had a reaction to the clear gesso that I put down initially. I have no idea, but I am going to use that hopefully to my advantage. Let me just, it doesn't really make any difference. It's got marks on either side. I've got some of my treasure gold, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some over the whole of the background, trying to focus on getting the gold into those little dinks. This may turn out to be a happy accident. We'll see. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'll do it with just one to start off with, just in case this idea doesn't work. But I'm just trying to get that gold into all of these little pits, like that. So we'll pop that to one side. What shall I use? I've got a piece of kitchen towel here, and I've got some linseed oil. If you want to do this kind of technique, I am pretty sure that any kind of oil, olive oil would probably work, coconut oil, baby oil, anything that you've got. And I'm just going to rub it all over the top just to get rid of the gold from the top layer, and hopefully it will just leave it in those little dinks, and that's exactly what it is doing. Can you see? So I'm just going to make sure that I wipe all of this off. I just absolutely love that. Woohoo! And I haven't spoilt my background either. There we go. Oh, that looks fabulous. I might need to ink around the edges again. I'm just going to go over with a bit more oil. I just love this linseed oil as well. It smells absolutely gorgeous. And it is taking the ink from around the edges away, but that's okay. I just love that. Right, okay. I'm going to do exactly the same with this one here. Well, I'm calling that a happy accident. I just really like the way that the gold has settled into those little crevices. Really like that. And I think what I'm going to do as well, just to finish it off, is just apply a small amount of the gold around the edge as well. And now, instead of it looking as if that was a mistake and something that's gone wrong, it looks as if it was done on purpose. So there we go, a way to fix your mistakes and things that happen that we weren't expecting along the way. Absolutely love that. So I just want to work on a postcard next. So that's the strip that I used for the artist trading cards. And I've just cut this postcard piece out from this corner here. So let me just move that to one side. I've trimmed this down to 6 by 4 inches, which is postcard size. And I'm just going to pull out a few bits and pieces to decorate it with now. So I've pulled out a few bits and pieces that I can use just to decorate my postcard. Now I've got this piece here that was cut off the bottom of the postcard when I trimmed it to size. And I'm thinking that I can maybe add that here, something like that, just to add a bit more interest on the right hand side. I've also cut out another one of the birds that Eugene sent me, which I think goes really nicely. I've got a postage stamp sticker, so I'm thinking that I can maybe add that, something like that. And I've got one of the Tim Holtz flowers as well from one of his ephemera sets that I thought would look quite nice there. And then I've got a postage stamp that I've just peeled off an envelope that I thought might add a little bit of vibrancy and goes with the red that's in the birds. So what I want to do first is I want to ink around all of these pieces just to frame them and just, you know, add to that vintage look. Also, I've done exactly the same thing with the feet of the bird because they're just so fiddly. I've just trimmed very loosely. So if I ink those up, it just disguises it. I'm just going to ink just to get rid of the white that's on the corner as well. And I'll do that to all of these pieces here. And then I shall just glue everything down. So I've inked around the edge of all of my pieces, and I'm just going to add a bit of shading here just with a charcoal pencil just along the lines of this as well, just so that it doesn't look as if it's just, you know, in the background. It just looks as if it's another additional piece like the other collage elements. So we'll just smudge that there. There we go. Liking that, and maybe I can do the same to this piece here. So that's all blended, and now I'm ready to start gluing everything down. So you can see that it's given me a nice shadow around all of these elements as well, so that it just, you know, blends in better. Now I'm going to use a mixture of different types of glues. This is a sticker, so that will just peel off. I'm just going to use some regular glue stick to glue the postage stamp on, and then the same with the bird, because that's really thin. And then these heavier items here, I shall use some Fabri-Tac because people are always interested in what types of glue I use. So I'm going to glue these down, and as soon as I've done that, I'll be back. So here's my finished postcard. I've done exactly the same thing to the back as I did with the artist trading cards, and I've just glued 2 pieces of the craft cardstock just to stabilize it so that that's nice and firm, and I don't know, it just makes it feel better quality. Now I also want to do some artist trading coins. I have got some chipboard artist trading coins. These measure 2.5 by 2.5 inches, but I also have a 2.5 inch punch as well. So I have punched a hole using that hole punch here. What make is this? EK. And I'm going to use this as sort of like a guide so that I can see which parts I want to cut out. You see, I really like that area there. I was also thinking that I could maybe have this part here. And what else did I like? I also liked maybe that there. I want to keep these fairly plain. And so I'm going to punch these areas using my hole punch. So let's just start off with this one here. So again, I can just, in fact, what I need to do is just trim a little part away, just so that I can get into the area that I want. Let's just trim that off. There we go. And so I'm just going to trim and punch out the areas that that I showed you. So that there, like that. And then, as I say, it was this part here. So I'm just going to need to trim these down. So I've ended up cutting out these 3 pieces here. Let me just get rid of these and I'll show you where they came from. I decided to go close to the edge in the end because I just didn't want to waste any of my paper. So I've cut them out from these areas here. That was the one that I originally showed you. And so I'm just going to stick these down to these chipboard bases. I get these from the Motorcycle Museum craft fair that I talk about, and they're about 10 pence each. I just want to show you how I'm gluing these. I'm just using glue stick on the trading card first, and then I'm applying a very thin layer of Fabri-Tac. The glue stick helps it slide around a lot more easier, which helps placement, and then the Fabri-Tac is just strong enough to make sure that it stays in place and it isn't going anywhere. Of course, because this is circular, it doesn't matter where I place it, and I'm just using my fingers there to make sure that's in the right place. And then I'm just using a microfiber cloth just to rub over that, just to make sure that we've got good contact. So these are glued on, and I've just used a nail file just to smooth around the edges as well, which helps to burnish it and just gets rid of any slight overhang. I just want to ink around the edges because that just draws your eye to the centre, and also adds to the vintage feel, and of course it keeps them in keeping with the ones that I've already done as well. So I'll do this to all 3 of them, and then we can start adding the very simple embellishments that I've got planned. So I've just got some very simple embellishments to add to these. More butterflies because again it keeps them all in keeping. I've matched the colours up to the various trading coins, and for those of you that take part in regular swaps, if you've got a masterboard already prepared, just look how quick and easy it was just to prepare all of these. And each time you do it, if you take a different part of your masterboard, it's always going to be different. So I'm just going to peel these apart and stick them down. So here are my finished artist trading coins. Now you can see that I changed my mind regarding the butterfly for this one here. I just decided that this butterfly was more in keeping with the butterflies on the other two, both size-wise and with the style. So I decided to go with this one here. And because these are on chipboard, I'm going to share another video with you in a few days. I've been promising for some time to tackle encaustic art. I've already done one project already using the Masterboard, and I'm absolutely thrilled to bits with it. And I think I want to do the same thing with the artist trading coins as well, so I shall be adding some encaustic wax to these. I may even use my Masterboards as well and add encaustic to those. We'll see if I'm brave enough. And of course, here are my artist trading cards. I'm thrilled to bits with how the Treasure Gold has transformed the pitting in these. Definitely a happy accident. I just think that's gorgeous, and I just love the addition of the Inca Gold around the edges as well. And of course, my postcard. I'm thrilled to bits with this. It just makes it so much more sturdy when you add some thicker cardstock. This feels like chipboard now, and it just gives it a much better quality feel. So I hope that's given you some ideas as to how you can use your Masterboards. As I said to you earlier, if you take part in regular challenges with other Facebook groups or share with your friends, having a Masterboard in your arsenal just makes life so much easier, because you can just chop out small pieces and it just gives you a springboard, somewhere to start. And of course, it's a great way to carry on practicing your collage skills as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm going to leave the link to the video showing how I created the original Masterboards, and also the link to Kylie's video, because I know that she's done a video as well sharing ideas as to how she's used her Masterboard. I will be back, as I've said, middle of next week, I would think, with my ideas for encaustic. And I also want to share a project next Sunday using the rice paper as well, which I will be using to cover a journal that I'll be doing more scrap projects in. So until then, take care everyone. If you enjoyed the video, as always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Do let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.